Welcome to episode 98 of the Wilderness Podcast. I'm your host, Dilz, and with me is Deagin.
Hey, how's it going?
This week, we will be discussing the dev blog that gives more information on the Deadman Autumn Finals and Winter Seasonal. The integrity changes for the duel arena finally get put in place, adding a new tax system to the dueling arena, as well as other things, along with news on the iOS beta. So any Apple users finally get a little bit more information on what the hell's going on with the OSRS mobile client on their end. But that is not all. This seems to be dark times for Runescape, a beloved Runescape website used for almost the entire Runescape lifetime. Anyways, it is finally coming to an end for that website. A weird little bug happens to a hardcore Iron Man. And lastly, a suggestion for a new type of jewelry. Anyways, as usual, before we get into that, Deagin, what did you do this week?
Good question. I don't think I really mentioned it, but in the process of moving, I don't know if we've talked about this in the podcast, but
You mentioned briefly that you're packing up, getting ready to move.
yeah, so I guess that. Played a little bit of RuneScape, and new WoW expansion came out.
Oh, Lord. All right, well, before we get into what you did on RuneScape, how is that WoW expansion?
So far it's pretty good. I think I've realized I don't really care about WoW, the expansion itself. It's more of getting back together with my buddies and then all my guild buddies, my WoW buddies as well, and we're all just kind of grinding together.
So you're playing it somewhat for the experience. Similar to in RuneScape, when a new Deadman seasonal begins, a lot of people play it, not so much because of Deadman Mode in itself. They might not particularly enjoy it. They might quit pretty early on, but those beginning hours of playing Deadman Mode, where everyone's level 3 and it's a huge rush and there's just hundreds and hundreds of players, it's a good a lot of people enjoy that experience, not so much the long drawn Deadman Mode. Is that similar to you with World of Warcraft?
A bit. So typically with the past, was that 4 expansions minus this one? Maybe 5? I don't really know. Day 1, I sit down and I know life and I max. Not max, but I hit the highest level in a day. I'll do the new content in a day and hit the cap, the max level, and then kind of be super competitive and racy and stuff. This expansion, I just was super laid back. Last expansion, the Legion, our guild had a contest for the first person to get 120 or 110. Won a bunch of stuff, and I won by a good chunk.
What exactly can you win on World of Warcraft, since half the items aren't even really tradable?
Golden amount, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But so usually the typical thing is I have game plans set out. Okay, I'm doing this because I'm not I don't have groups of people to level cap in 4 hours with. So my goal is to just be solo, but I'm usually maybe top 100 on the server to level cap, maybe top 50 because I'm not in a group. But
so that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and then I pick specific classes so I can do content as I don't know. If you don't play other MMOs, there's certain roles you take within group content. There's healers, damage dealers, and tanks that just soak up damage. And so I strategize so I can get my gear as fast as I can, and I will sit there and no life for 2-3 days. Get the gear, I'm pretty much almost raid ready, for because raids come out in 3 or 4 weeks after the expansion drops. And yeah, so I'm usually super competitive, trying to get ready for in the first couple days. But this time I took it really not really casual, but a lot more than usual.
Yeah, okay.
So it took me a couple days to level up because I was playing RuneScape and stuff in between, and I would play for a couple hours and then just get off and start packing and start cleaning and all that stuff, or I would go play Monster Hunter or something.
Sometimes I get that World of Warcraft itch, but I haven't really played it intensely since Wrath of the Lich King, which was the 3rd expansion. Yeah. And then every now and then I would quit, and then I would jump in normally at the end of each expansion. So I jumped in Cataclysm, and then I jumped in at Myths of Pandera. It's Mists of Pandera.
Yeah.
I'd play it for a month or something and try to get into it, but playing at the end of an expansion isn't really the same. But yeah, every now and again I get that itch, so I go check out some streams on twitch.tv, and it's nice because I get reminded that it's not the game that I'm getting the itch for. It's like I quit RuneScape the first time, like literally, like not literally quit because I'm still playing it now, but the big quit where I gave away my account and I had to start from fresh. But I quit in 2007 and I didn't really come back until Oldschool RuneScape was released. But it's the same thing. I would get the itch to play RuneScape, and then when I went on, it was a totally different game. So you're just like, well, this game isn't going to hook me anymore because it's not what I'm getting the itch for. I'm getting the itch for RuneScape from 2007, not RuneScape in 2013, where you got like summoning and all these new items. It was a whole different monster.
The thing like I really like I'm enjoying with this expansion, I took I say more casual, but it's more of like efficient route. So like I leveled up, and like just kind of like hang out with my guild, do like a lot of specific content with the guild because it's like week 1. And if you're playing with friends and people that are like good at the game, I've complained about this on RuneScape, but you can leapfrog a lot of the content. You can save yourself 20 hours of grinding like certain dungeons and shit.
Oh, easily.
It's nice to like kind of go through that process of like just hanging out with some people, hanging with your boys, getting really good gear and having like way better items than everyone in the first week.
Yeah, it'd be pretty satisfying. I think the reason why I got super hooked onto it back in Burning Crusade was I was a shaman. If you don't play the game, there's a DPS role where you're just doing damage. There's a tank role where you're soaking up damage so that other people can deal damage. And then you have healers, which are basically keeping everybody alive. Well, I played a shaman, and then I bumped into these 2 random people who were grinding something, and they saw I was like the DPS version of a shaman, and shamans can also be a healer. So they said, hey, if you decide to go a healer, we will make sure you're really geared. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, why not? So I became a healer, and they started running me through all the raids of like the early on raids, the entry level raids, I should say. And I got geared up so fast because every item that dropped that I could use, it literally went to me. And almost everyone there was running it just for me so that I could help them in their next raid because they were short healers. So I leapfrogged a bunch of shit because I'd do one raid, and next thing you know, I have like 4 or 5 new items.
I don't know. It's super fun. Like the one thing that I wish I could do in RuneScape, and I kind of get it from WoW, and when I can do it in RuneScape, I can, but it's like I like looking at like numbers of certain things and like trying to optimize like certain things as much as possible, so I'm able to like look at my gear and go like, okay, well, what kind of stats do I need the most? And there's like websites and stuff you can like simulate DPS, whatever. You can do all this stuff to like make sure you're like getting like, or which gear you need to get from which dungeons and which stats you want, and you can like kind of optimize your character. And I like really like going through that process like early on in an expansion.
Do you wish in old school RuneScape that some of the other stats were more important instead of, because right now strength is probably the most important stat, but do you wish things like stab / crush accuracy were more important in the game?
Well, for some bosses it is.
There's certain things, but generally speaking, it's the strength you're going to be going for, right?
Yeah, like, I wonder how they would like make that stuff interesting. I feel like RuneScape's really limited on like just also like the way you get gear in RuneScape, which is kind of like you just grind money and buy it, and like other MMOs like WoW, you have to like
Iron Man it.
Yeah, you have to Iron Man it, but it's very different. Like the drop rates aren't 1 in 200 for for pants.
Yeah, it's why I do really like the raids that are in old school RuneScape, and I'm excited for a time when we're going to have a bunch more to choose from. This is, years from now, because they even said themselves they don't want to focus on endgame content as much. But part of me kind of, they did split the teams up. We've talked about that. So now they have designated teams for certain pieces of content and engine work and blah, blah, blah. But it does make me excited to, you're in the clan chat and, hey, we have 5 raids to choose from and each have a bunch of items that get released. I mean, they're all going to be tier 75, but hey, you got to take what you can get, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever hit tier 80 at this point.
I'm waiting for tier 76.
Yeah, that'll be huge. That's power creep.
Protest in Falador, baby.
Yeah. I think I've realized that quote-unquote endgame content really is only satisfying for a very small minority of the group, and it's probably really obvious when when I first started doing Xerix or like Theater of Blood, well, when it first came out. I think I had the mindset that like most people, if they could do it, they're gonna like only want to do it and like grind it. But I think most people that like can do like Chamber of Xerix, they'll do like 5, and then that's pretty much it.
I know people are, I don't want to say nervous, but it's a bit of a hill to climb. They might have the stats, they might have the items, but a lot of people are kind of nervous on executing the actual raid itself and completing it, because it is pretty tough. And the first couple raids are going to suck because you don't know what you're doing and there's a lot going on. You're going to die, and normally dying doesn't really feel too good.
Xerix, you can do 6 hours. You can take 6 hours and do it. It's not like Theater of Blood where you die and you have to redo the whole thing.
Yeah, but even still, it's frustrating. It feels like a waste of time.
I mean, it's the learning process, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like when people know they have friends, or when people know they have friends who are doing the raid, it kind of opens them to be more open to trying it, because doing it with randoms, that'll be a little bit rough. But I've seen it in the clan chat where it started with me kind of going solo because I had no one to do it with, and then I brought, 3 or 4 people through it, teaching them how to do it, and then they're teaching other people how to do it. Next thing you know, there's a fair bit of people who kind of want to try it, and they're just kind of waiting for other people to run it with them. It's kind of cool to see. It becomes like the snowball effect.
One thing I've noticed out of like everyone that I've either taken or done raids with, I'm going to say like 1% of them actually like, okay, well, nice. And they just spam raids. I can think of like 1 or 2 people that I've actually like taken into raids, and then like the next day they're like trying to do it on their own, and then a week later they're still doing raids, and a month later they're still doing it, and then it's like, yo, dude, you busy? Nah, I want to do some raids? Okay. And then you see that they have like, you're like, oh shit, dude, you've only been doing raids. Yeah, pretty much. Like, I enjoy it. This is like, I don't really have much else to do. I think most people will jump in. This is, I'm assuming a lot, but I'm assuming a lot of people jump in, do like 5 or something, realize they haven't gotten an item, and stop. That's kind of what it feels like, at least.
It really depends, because like personally, I've seen the opposite, but it also might fall into who you're doing it with. If you're doing it with some nice people, and I say nice because there's some dickheads that play this game, and I've raided with some people, and you're just like, ugh, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. Was not the best experience.
Yep.
But you do it with some nice people, and no matter how bad you do, or if nobody gets loot, it was just a good time. So that, you know what I mean? You become more pulled to do more of them, I guess. I can't think of the words I'm trying to
say
talk.
Book learnings and thinkings. Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, I was like, hey, I want to do some raids, and I kind of waited for my one buddy, and we spent like a couple months getting ready to do raids. We got like all the requirements, and then we waited like 6 months, and then we're like, dude, it's been 6 months. We've been able to raid this whole time. Why haven't we started? I don't know, man. Let's do it. And then we did like over the course of maybe a month or 2, we did like, I think it was 19 we did together, and then, or maybe it was like 20. And then he just never wanted to do them again. And like, okay, well, I guess I'll just do them solo. And then I did out of like my little bit over 300. So I'm not like the most experienced raider, but like I can run the head and stuff. I mean, I still have suicide to be safe, but I did most of them solo, and that's just how I am. Like, I don't like, I've done free-for-alls. I hate free-for-alls. I had some dude ask if he can borrow or buy barrel gloves off someone. Being serious.
Shit, I've ran so many Barrows runs, and I can't get the gloves. They're so rare.
I just find that, like, maybe my, like, Xerix experience has been different, but typically, like, personally, I got, like, really lucky with, like, I realized my one buddy wasn't really into raids, and, like, I think he's at, like, 70 kill count now after, like, a year and a bit, and he's not really too interested in them, which is fine, but, and it's mainly because he's not sniping items a lot, right? Like, he told me he doesn't want to do them because he's not getting items that often.
I mean, that's fair. I bet it's a lot more exciting to get them in your chest.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you do 70 raids, you should probably, on average, if you're doing like solos or duos, get like 2. But also when half of those are like he would do them so sporadically that you don't really learn, right?
True, yeah.
Like if you do like a raid once a week, it's kind of hard to get good at them because like there's I forgot that like Ohm does this shit. You know, you don't really like pound it into your head. And
Sure.
so like he would die a decent amount. So like realistically, maybe he should have like gotten 1 instead of 2 items, like on average. Obviously you can get lucky and unlucky. For me, I threw myself at Ohm nonstop for like from kill count 20 to like, I don't know. I did like a bunch solo, just nonstop. But then I had someone who was like max gear, who's done like 1,000, and he like was watching me stream. It actually might have been like my first official solo, maybe. And he was like giving me tips, and he was super nice. And like I still talk to him now. He's a good buddy of mine. I consider him a good friend. He like taught me like so much like shit that like guides don't even mention. And then eventually he was like, yo, dude, just come run with us. So then I would just start doing runs with them, and they're all like pretty good at the game. And I met like a couple more friends through him. And then I have like a couple buddies that like, you know, I really like, and we raided and stuff together, or I guess we used to. I was in a weird position where you know, I was like, people were watching me for the memes of like, this guy's like so bad at raids. Look at his first raid. And then they're like, well, let's help him out. And they like helped me out, explain some things. And then eventually I got better and like, yo, come along. Let's do them with us. Now you can learn like duo and trio methods. And here's a 4+1 that we do efficiently. Come on. We'll teach you how like, why we do it like this. And like, I kind of learned everything through like really experienced PVMers. The way I learned it was really like different. And like, maybe if I was forced to like figure out all on my own or through Wooks' guide, which is like kind of out of date now, maybe I wouldn't have stuck with it as long as I did.
It depends who you are, because you were doing a bunch of solos. I did a bunch of solos. That's how I learned. And like currently, I don't think I'll ever really run another solo again. I find them so boring. I just can't be bothered. But I have a great time doing it with other people. So I did about 20 solos. It's not even a lot. I just did 20 of them on my own. And then I got burnt out from doing them solo because it's just, I don't know, I just wasn't a fan really. But I've done another 25 or 30 with other people. And I enjoy it a lot more with a group.
I mean, I don't mind doing it solo.
Yeah, it depends who you are, right? I can understand why some people won't want to do it solo, and I can understand why other people might only want to do it solo, since you can do it at your own pace. But Anyways, I guess we're getting right into the RuneScape talk. What did you do this week?
I got my first kill counts in Theater of Blood, actually.
No way. Keep it in line with the raid talk. Okay, so I got a few questions, but first things first, how was it?
It was good. I thought that was pretty good.
A lot of fun. Did you guys clear it on your first attempt?
Yeah. First attempt, failed the second, and then did the third attempt, and then I went to bed.
You guys actually cleared it on your first attempt?
Well, I was being brought in by a group of experienced people.
Very experienced, or were they on like kill count?
Oh yeah,
5?
very. Like Scythe of Tours and stuff.
Oh, fuck. Okay, never mind. Well, so I guess this question is going to be a bit skewed, but try to put yourself in the perspective of a group of fresh players. Not fresh.
If you guys have, like, it's hard. It is, okay, so I'll tell you what my experience was, and then you guys can take it from that. So, I have a buddy who actually I would do, like, some Chamber of Xerx with, and when Theater of Blood came out, he was actually one of the guys that we went with on day one. Maybe one or two of the guys that anyways, they stuck with it after. I think only one of them had a Scythe of a Tour, but they all had like T-bows and stuff. They're all like pretty well geared. And then there's me and like Void, like Tentacle, Crystal Halberd and stuff like that. Like not really up to snuff with them.
So you were getting trashed there, like dying a lot?
Not really, actually. So the first run we did, it was pretty much like the first 3 rooms. I've done them before, so I knew what was up. First room, which is Soda. No, it's not Soda Sack. What's her name? I made she's the Lithuanian Taruin. I forget what her actual name is. So I just remember the meme. Whatever. The hot lady and the blood.
I almost said Santiago, but that's definitely not it.
No,
it's something on those lines though. It's the Lithuanian version of Santiago. But anyways, Lady Santiago.
Yeah. I knew those fights, so we went and did that. That was fine. The bloat had been nerfed a fuck ton since I'd like done it last, so that shit was easy as hell. And then the Nilokas guys, I think I died on the boss because I like never really knew what was going on. So we pretty much entered each room like as we're walking. Okay, Deagin, these are all the mechanics, and we're starting. And I'm like, oh, what the? Okay, I'm wearing the wrong gear. Hold on, let me switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I'm kind of like really just figuring it as I go along, and they're ripping right through it. So I died on the last boss there because you pretty much get like 2 attacks, and then you have to switch your overhead and switch your gear to another attack. And I was like super getting confused because I didn't even have time to organize my inventory before we went into the fight.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was like, I would like switch my overhead and try and find like my range shit. By the time I had done that, it's like now it's on melee, and then I like taken 2 hits, and I have to drink up, and now it's on mage, and like I got fucked there, so I died. And then after that, is it Soda Sag?
Yes, that the Dark Beast dude.
Yeah, Soda Sag the Dark Beast.
And it's Zarpus.
Yeah, and then Zarpus, and then is it Verzik?
Yep, Lady Verzik.
Soda Sag, it was kind of the same thing. Okay, stand here, go in long range with your crossbow, attack it. Okay, go. And, I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating, but they explained it really quickly, and I was kind of like in Discord with the one guy, being like, okay, just to make sure, at this point, I do this. Yep. Okay, cool. Like, kind of like not really sure what's going on, but just kind of followed the group, and that was fine. Zarpus was fine. Zarpus is like really easy. And then I think I died on Verzik. I died like 30% in the final phase.
The raid itself, I mean, it's hard, but it does not sound as hard as I would have imagined.
It's hard, trust me. I straight up got carried. Like, there's dudes in like, so what they did is they had 4 guys that were really experienced in like max gear. Some dudes in like they all have Inferno capes and shit, right? Like, they're really good PVMers where they can like 2-man Verzik if they need to. And so the whole time I'm pretty much there playing around with the mechanics, trying to not die. And they also gave me the easiest rolls for like everything. Like, I was the guy, like, I'm like the guy at the mage hand for like Xerix. Like you don't really do anything, you just kind of chill. And like they're all really good too. Like the scythe, like that thing does so much damage. Like, it's ridiculous.
Wow, interesting. So I'm gonna assume that. Well, I guess I'll just ask. Do you think it's an easy mode of that raid should be released then to keep it in line with Chambers of Xeric?
Part of me says yes, because all I want to do is do Theater of Blood, and I can't. So it would be like if they had practice mode like from RS3 where you get legit no rewards, I would totally be down. But they won't do that. If they add it, they'll add some rewards to it.
The reason I think they're mainly adding that easy mode was they've talked about like multiple times in the past that they don't want Chambers of Xeric to be a stepping stone to Theater of Blood.
Yep.
They want them to be both online so you can do either or, and they'd be around the same experience level.
Yeah, and if that's their like mindset, if that's what they want, if that's what their intent is, then don't add practice mode.
So you think Theater of Blood is as difficult as Chambers of Xeric? I'm not talking about mechanic-wise, where how the deaths play out, but I mean the boss fights itself.
I would say it's more difficult.
So why don't you want them to add a practice mode then to keep it in line with Chambers of Xeric?
No, I do want. I say like part of me wants to, because that's all I really want to do is go in there and practice the mechanics and play around.
Yeah.
What they mean? What I'm gonna assume when they say they don't want it to be in line with Chamber of Xerix is that
they do want it to. They don't want it to be a stepping stone.
So, I'm trying to think of like an equivalent, but it would be like if you want to go PK deep in the wilderness and you're on your own, then you go to these like here, and here. You know, like you want Tribrid, NH Tribrid. These are the select spots you go. But if you're in a group, go to the Rev Caves. You know, like that type of a mindset.
Okay, yeah.
If you're on your own, you do these things. If you're with a group, you do those things. And I think that's what they mean with Xerix and Theater of Blood. Like, if you have 1 to 3 people, go do Chambers of Xerix. But if you have, 4 to 5, then go do Theater of Blood.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
And so what I also figured out is with the changes they made with scaling and stuff with Theater of Blood, it's actually most efficient to do with 4 people.
4, not 3 or 5?
Yeah, not 5 or 3, it's 4.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it all comes down to it scales. Okay, so like they never released the drop rates of Theater of Blood,
and they most likely won't to anytime soon. They'll probably wait a long time.
Yeah, there is, I think Oblivion has a spreadsheet they're trying to figure out. They think it's about like a 1 in 50. No, sorry, a 1 in 10 for a drop to happen. Sorry, I'm trying to think. It's either a 1 in 50 for it to be in your name. So that'd be like a 1 in 10.
Are you saying 50?
Yeah, or like a 1 in 10. I don't know. I forget what it is. It's either like a 1 in 10 for a drop to happen, or it's like a 1 in 50 to go in your name. I forget. Maybe I'm saying the exact same thing. I don't really know. I'm pretty out of it right now. One of the last whims of my sinus infection, as you can probably tell. So I'm kind of loopy. That's what they think it is right now. But if you, like, the less people you have, like, the drop rate doesn't, like, this is all implying that there's no deaths and the team's competent. The rewards don't scale. And that's been confirmed. That, like, you have the same amount of chance of an item dropping in a 4-man and in a 5-man if no one dies.
Yeah, interesting.
But also, the monsters will have less health and do less damage in a 4-man.
Yeah, and less mechanics to really deal with.
Yeah, so if they, like, I'm assuming that if they add a practice mode to Theater of Blood that you can solo and stuff like that, and you get rewards, then they're kind of going back on their, like, mindset of, like, what, they're kind of, like, yeah, going back on what they wanted Theater of Blood to be.
It could be similar to Chambers of Xeric, where, yeah, you can run solos, but if you really want to get drops, then you want to run in a group of like 3 or 4. You know what I mean? You're more likely to actually get some shit. It does make sense to me. I was against it. I still I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth on it. If it is that hard, Theater of Blood, and they don't want Chambers of Xeric to be a stepping stone to get to Theater of Blood, they want them to both be level with each other, similar to God Wars. You know what I mean? You look at the 4 bosses there. Generally, they're about the same. Some might be a little bit more harder than others, or some because of some certain mechanic, but they require around the same level and around the same gear setup, right? To actually start doing it. It sounds like they want to do the same for the raids. And if Theater of Blood is that much more difficult than Chambers of Xeric, then I can see why they want to release an easy mode. And at the same time, they don't want, like with Chambers of Xeric, I've run raids with level 105s and they were doing it fine.
Yeah.
You get items from Chambers of Xeric. And then they release a challenge mode, which might be to keep that in line with regular Theater of Blood. So if they release a practice mode, it wouldn't really make too much sense to not give it rewards, because Chambers of Xeric gives rewards on its quote-unquote practice mode, which is its regular mode.
It's not like, so if Chambers of Xeric was really a stepping stone, it would mean that you need like full Ancestral, you need a T-bow, you know what I mean? Like you would need the Xeric gear to do it, and that's not the case at all. Like you can bring your gear that you get from like a more advanced like Xeric setup, so like full void, you have like Zenite jewelry switches, a crossbow, blowpipe, Dragon Warhammer, blah, 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 you know, typical, like, that type of stuff. You can bring that to, like, Theater of Blood. So, gear-wise, it's kind of relatable. Like, you don't need a Warhammer, but, like, if you're doing Chamber of Xeric, like, you should have one, and same thing with Theater of Blood.
But don't you need some people in your group to have a twisted bow and stuff, right?
So, if you've never done Theater of Blood, it's going to be hard. Like, no, like, if everyone could be in the best gear, but if they're all inexperienced, you're fucked. Like the thing is that,
same thing with Chambers of Xeric too, right? Your first time, you're probably going to die. 99% of people are going to die multiple times.
But you can just go to your bank, grab more of those juicy overloads and Xericades and go right back in. That's
the death mechanics are different. So that's why I say, like, ignoring the death mechanics, we'll just stick to the actual skill level of killing the bosses for the PVM, the 2 raids.
So, but like, that's the thing though, is the death mechanic is what makes it so hard.
Yeah, okay.
If we're in like, if we're both doing Xerics and whatever, and I die, I go, oh shit, grab my potions, and I'm back in, and now we're both doing it. If we're doing like, you know, we have a 4-man group or a 5-man group and we're on Lady Verzik and someone dies at the very beginning, you go, oh fuck. Like, we're down a man. We like, oh shit. Like it's the meta for Verzik is before you start the fight, everyone drops all their potions, but you keep like a stamina, like 2 restores and 3 brews. Like, you drop everything and like you kind of spread them all out, because if you die, you like they absolutely will need your potions. And so like what makes Theater of Blood so hard is that like it's not. There's no second chances, and if you wipe, you have to redo the whole thing.
Okay, so you think the bar of actually completing it doesn't necessarily matter if you have max gear or not. Sure, it will help you.
No.
But if you're willing to stick through it, hours upon hours to learn the fight, you should be able to do it with a blowpipe, full void, etc.
Yeah, so the people I did it with all have hundreds of kills in Theater of Blood, and they're all in max gear, and they went in with the intention of like, we want our group of friends to all be able to do Theater of Blood. Maybe they all get like 5-6 kill count, and then they'll start doing it together, and we don't have to carry them. And then eventually, let's say they're at 25 kills. Hey, well now we have 15 people or 20 people that can just mix and match and get together and just start ripping it. Because as of right now, our group is too small. That's what their mindset is. So like, that's kind of like what goes on. And so like the first run, it was like very like, there was a lot of mechanics where I'm like, oh fuck. And if you're with a group of people with the same gear I had, which is like nothing too fancy, like I'm pretty sure most people, if you can do Chamber of Xerix like super easily, like you should like eventually just wait for that big drop to happen and then go get your Warhammer, your Rigger, your Augury, go do theater. But like it's very like throw your, slam your head against a wall or run into the wall until it eventually breaks. And I don't know if people have the patience. I don't think people realize that like if you were to sit down, say you have a group of 5 people who have never done it, and you guys look up at all the current mechanics, because like what we saw on like with the streamers and stuff on like the first few days when the raid first came out, you realize they were doing like everything wrong.
Yeah, they're trying to force
the Lady Verzik strats and stuff were like not optimal at all. I'm like, oh yeah, so in this fight you do this and this, this and this. Like, huh, okay. And then you're like, that makes it like when he explains it to me like that, and then we do it. This is way more relaxed and way easier than the way the streamers did it. Like I didn't, if I knew like the mechanics, if I didn't need an explanation, you don't even need to use VoIP or anything.
Interesting.
Only thing you need is like the Nihilocus room. You're like, okay, you take this spot in range, you take this spot in mage, 2 Meliors go here and here. And then, all right, let's go. And then maybe like Verzik, like who does like the staff, the Dawn staff, whatever order people are using the spec. Like,
okay,
not as like hectic as the streamers made it seem to be.
Yeah, of course, because they're all racing to get first kill. They're not testing things out and figure out what mechanics are actually optimal and the strategies to do what. But anyways, I feel like this was a weird conversation because when you first started, you had me thinking, holy shit, it's fucking hard. A group going in there is completely fucked. But then as the conversation went on, it seemed to have tapered more on the lines of, it's hard, but if you're willing to, you don't need a T-bow, you don't need a scythe, you don't need the best gear. If you have the gear for if you have decent gear for Chambers of Xeric, not like the minimal setup, as long as you're willing to spend like 3 mil dying a bunch of times to learn the mechanics, you guys will be able to eventually do it.
Yeah, so I don't know if I came off as like, this is the hardest thing in the world. Doctors can't figure out why gamers do this.
I mean, at the beginning of the conversation, when you were saying it, you had me going, oh, so now I get why they're bringing in easy mode. But then at the end of this conversation here, I'm sitting there going, oh, I should try Theater of Blood. That doesn't sound that difficult. That just sounds like it sounds like the standard raiding experience that comes from other MMOs.
So like, one thing I noticed where like if I'm like raiding or bringing someone to like their first like Xeric runs, typically they'll like, oh man, I died 8 times. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Well, I don't want really, we'll do some tomorrow. I don't know. And they get really discouraged that they died 8 times. But the thing is that in Chambers of Xerix, you die and you haven't like fucked up or failed. You just, I died. Let me go get more potions and go back in. Like, it's not a big deal. I mean, eventually it will become a big deal if you have like 300 kill count or something and you're like if I were to die, I'd be cheese because it's like I've done this so much that like I shouldn't.
I mean, I'm at 50 kill count, and if I die, it's like I'm tilted. I'm like, I can't believe I just fucking did that.
I get like, yeah, if I'm like solo and I like die and like I'm like, oh for fuck, I'm kind of like, well, there was a lot of points and I won't get an item, that sucks. But it's only because like I've done it so much that it's like I shouldn't be doing that. But if it's like your first like,
yeah, you're sitting there being like, damn it, Deagin, you know better.
Yeah, but I've like done raids with like a bunch of people that always get really discouraged, and they're like, they don't want to do it anymore because they died 8 times during 1 kill count. But with Theater of Blood, let's just say you died on every room and we pull, like, let's say you die in the first like 3 rooms. Okay, that sucks. You're not going to get any rewards, but you don't get any points to buy potions.
Yeah.
Which means now we have to use our points to buy potions for you, and now we're all like, it kind of really fucks the whole group.
Yep.
And the only reason why I went like, oh, you're fucked, it's kind of like, you cannot expect to like, all right, let's watch this Wook's guide 30 minutes, or like, let's watch this YouTube, like, how to do Theater of Blood.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go do it. Fuck, we died. We'll try again tomorrow. Like, you have to like actually sit there for like a long time and like, nice, we got Maiden down. Cool. Oh, nice. Finally, we can do Maiden and Pestilent. Nice. Now we can do these 3. And like, it's kind of like you have to like really, like, if you're all learning it, like figure it out. Cause there's like a lot of little things you have to learn. And like, then it'll get to the point where like, okay, you can rip through the first 3 or 4 rooms quickly or whatever. And then now, or the first like 5 rooms, and now you're on Verzik. Well, like that fight is actually pretty difficult. And if someone fucks up and dies at the beginning, you like might just have to full wipe, and there goes like potentially 1 hour, and you have to restart.
Sure.
Which means like if you're gonna get discouraged on like spending 45 minutes to an hour to complete Xerix eventually, then like are you going to like actually be motivated to try again after dying after 1 hour?
Yeah. Obviously, it depends on the people. You know what I mean? It does sound like this experience is kind of similar, but it does sound like the people you have raided with, like maybe taught, were not the best people to bring with you. Maybe, you know what I mean? They weren't the most positive to get into the raiding experience, because I've kind of had the exact opposite.
Even talking to my one buddy who like is like doing Theater of Blood, and he's been teaching people, like, that's really it's just a common thing. Like, you see it in like WoW and stuff. You see it in like a lot of games where like if people are I guess bad or inexperienced at the content or just anything in general, they just get discouraged and don't want to do it anymore. I've done that before, where like I play. How many people quit League because they had one really shitty game? Like, it's pretty common, right?
That's exactly what happened to me. Not even kidding. I had a really bad game where I got flamed by people, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this game. And I haven't played it since. It's been months.
That's kind of, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like, it happens to everyone, but, like, it's going to be hard to, like, form up a group of fresh people and just start doing Maiden. And, like, I don't mind teaching people Xerix and stuff if I'm just dicking around RS, but I don't think I'd be willing to teach people Theater of Blood.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not like with Xerix, I can go in with, like, 5 people, and the only thing is, okay, once we get to Ulm, just, like, leave some shit for me when you die. I'll pick up the potions, I can, like, solo it if there's enough supplies in the ground. But if I go in with 4 other people in, like, Theater of Blood, and let's just say, like, I'm pretty good at it with, like, max gear, it's, like, I don't really think I'd be able to, like, solo Verzik. It's way more team-oriented, I guess, and you kind of have to rely on your teammates a bit more. But, that being said, like I said, I prefer this type of rating, where it's very,
it's cutthroat. It's very punishing.
I like the traditional methods, I guess, where it's like boss, and loot.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I feel like that's anything to wrap this up. We think we've talked in length about rating.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. You do anything else this week?
Just flips in the Grand Exchange. That's about it. Nothing special there.
Fun.
What about you?
I guess we'll swinging it over to me. So quickly, I'll just run through the real life stuff because life's getting a little bit crazy. Some big changes are happening. Gave my 2 weeks into work on last Monday. So this upcoming Friday is my last day at work, which is going to be weird. I've been there for like 5 years. And I ended up getting a tattoo on Tuesday. It's a fairly big one too, but that's been fun to deal with. Fucking painful and all this stupid aftercare shit. Every 3 hours you're having to attend to it. But the itchiness is setting in right now. So while you've been talking, I've been sitting there slapping my arm to get it to go away. But yeah, fun stuff. Video game wise, you've talked me into getting Monster Hunter. So I picked that up today just because I had to bring my girlfriend to work. I drove by an EB Games and I was like, well, I really shouldn't.
Those things are still open, huh? Let's go check it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cobwebs and, like, dust everywhere.
One game on there, and thank God it was Monster Hunter.
Blow the dust off of it, even though the game came out this year.
Yeah.
Creaky wooden door.
Yeah. One guy's just sleeping.
Oh my god, a customer.
Anyways, yeah, so I did pick that up. Been playing that a little bit. It's fun. It's a bit overwhelming, but I've only been playing it for a few hours, so it's interesting, but nothing much to talk about there.
Yeah, man, that game is fucking dope. I have like 50 hours maybe a bit more clocked onto it.
Nice. I'm excited to get more into it.
It's pretty deep. The weapons are super cool, and they all have like really cool, unique mechanics behind them too. Do some badass shit.
It's not bad. There's a few. I have a few criticisms.
Like what?
The dialogue is like it's half voiced.
Yeah, it's because it's like a Japanese game, right? So you're gonna see like they're gonna call money some fucking like zenny or some weird shit. It's never like dollars.
Well, you'll go up to some guy and he's like, the text will say, "Follow me. We have to go to a camp to set up for the next monster hunt." I'm just obviously paraphrasing completely. Yeah, we have to set up for the next monster hunt.
But his voice line is like glorious.
Yeah, pretty much. Or he'll be like, "Come on, the camp's this way," and then it's like brrrr, all this new dialogue comes up afterwards, and you click it, and he's like, "Haha, let's go." But it says, "Are you ready to go? Make sure you visit the quest board beforehand." So
yeah,
that seems a bit dated there, but it's not bad.
It's part of like the whole Japanese RPG like trope.
Yeah, it's the charm to it, I guess.
I don't know. I have a bunch of friends that are like, "Deagin, you're not playing it in Japanese? Come on, man." It's like, what? Fuck you. What the hell? I want to play it in English. Can't read Japanese. Jesus, dude. What the hell? When you watch anime with subtitles? Yeah, of course I do. What? I can't, I don't know Japanese. You fucked?
I mean, I guess you wouldn't be missing out too much because that, be similar to the English subtitles, I guess, unless it's fully voiced. But I imagine it's just like, "Oishi!" And all this other dialogue comes up.
Yeah. Is that pretty much it, though? With criticisms?
I'm only a couple hours in at the moment.
Okay.
But there's the odd things like you jump in, it's like tutorial after tutorial to after. It's your typical Japanese game where there's so much to it, and you're like, holy shit, you don't ease me into this. There's just so many menus and all this shit, and eventually you'll get the hang of it. But a lot of the Final Fantasy games have that too, where you jump in and it's like all of these mechanics that you're like, wow, this is the first I'm seeing.
Now press the start menu. Like all these tutorials, the option button lets you change options. Click this is the sound, and you're like, whoa, wait, hold on. I just hit pause. Gotta go take a piss.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, maybe I'll get more into it next week when I play it some more. But anyways, jumping into old school RuneScape. So kind of the typical same old on old school RuneScape. Some bossing, a little bit of PKing, some fletching in between. I think I'm level 90 fletching now. But nothing interesting when it comes to bossing. Just I'm on a Vorkath task right now, so I'm doing that fun stuff. But at least I get to test out my Warhammer. I did pick up the Tyrannical Ring, since it gives you the Crush bonus, which gives you more accuracy with your Warhammer.
Yep.
I figured may as well pick it up. And then I realized, if I want this to be actually useful, I have to go imbue it from Nightmare Zone. So there's a few things I want to say about that. Nightmare Zone fucking sucks when you don't want to do Nightmare Zone. Of course, right?
Oh yeah, dude.
It's great when you're there, like, I want to level up and get some experience and whatnot, but I have all max melee stats. I got 96 range, 97 mage. So I go in there with range, because I'm like, might as well get experience in that. But it's just so boring, because half the time I'm like, well, I just kind of want to play RuneScape. I don't want to do this content that requires me not to play RuneScape. And it's just boring. And you got to get like 600,000 points, which it's a fair chunk. I guess it's my fault for spending a bunch on hurt boxes when I did have a shit ton saved up. But I just kind of forgot about this stuff. And I know I'm going to have to revisit again if I ever want to imbue another ring, which could be the Ring of Gods or the, what's that other wilderness ring?
Treasonous?
Yeah, the Treasonous ring. I mean, I don't know why I would need that one, but I'm sure there's going to be a time where you look at it and you go, I'm going to need to use that. Plus, eventually, I plan on getting the Calphite head to recolor my new Slayer helmet. So again, I'm going to have to imbue that one too, which costs like 1 point something million.
Yeah, see, the trick is to spend like 2 months in the fucking caves of NMZ like I did, and then you walk out with like 15 mil points, and you're like, nice, I never need to do this again.
Yeah, unless you're going and getting her boxes, which is what I was doing. I had a bunch saved up, and then like an idiot, I was like, let's get some her boxes.
I have my like warrior, berserker, seers, archers. I have 3 slayer helms. I have all the crystal stuff imbued. And I've done like hundreds of herb boxes, and I have like 13 mil.
Wow.
I did a lot of NMZ back in the day, and I'm pretty much set. I can like buy all the Slayer helmets and imbue them all, and all the rings and stuff, and imbue them all, and still do my herb boxes, and I'll be okay. And like, I buy a bunch of scrolls or redirects and stuff too as well.
Yeah, those are good to have.
I do think it's annoying that like imbuing is locked behind this fucking awful minigame, which is like, alright, equip prayer bonus gear, drink prayer potions because you don't want to waste your points on like absorbs, bring an overload, I guess, and then just like AFK, maybe bring a Gmaul and so you can pick up the infinite spec thing and just spec shit out the whole time. But
yep.
Alright, time to spend 3 hours AFKing this because I don't care enough to actually focus.
Yeah, exactly, because it's rough.
I mean, I guess it could be free prayer experience if you get the right boss or monsters and you bring a Bone Crusher.
Yeah, it's as much experience as it is going to the Wilderness Boneyard and just burying bones there.
Yeah.
Basically, but I do hope they change it so you don't need to go there to, imbue your shit. They should block it behind something else, something actually fun and engaging, but
or just rework NMZ so it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, that's all I have, I think, for RuneScape this week, so let's move on to the news.
Alright, so first up, we can talk about some Deadman Mode. Ooh-wee.
Oh yeah, Deadman Mode time.
Autumn Finals and Winter Season. So, the Autumn Finals begin at 3 p.m. on Saturday the 8th of September. I think it's, at least in Canada, just before school starts for everyone.
Oh wow, that's coming up. That's our we'll talk about it more, but that's the weekend we're looking at to do that drop party.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the week starts, the final week starts on the September the 8th, and it ends on the 15th, so the next, Saturday. I don't know how it is for America. I have American buddies that are starting school on the 20th of August. I don't know how it is in the UK. I think UK has a different school schedule in general than North Americans. I don't know though. But at least for Canadians, this is the worst time possible to have a finals. Because it's the first week of school. I guess maybe if you're in high school, the first 2 days are you know what I mean? The first week you don't fucking do anything. It's just icebreakers. And the first day of college, I guess there's still some shit there. It's kind of just introduction. But you still have to do some stuff. At least I do. But if you're a freshman, you're going into residence for you know what I mean?
Oh, you know what? I totally misread this too because I was reading it as the tournament's on the weekend before school starts, but no, it's actually on the weekend after the first week of school.
If you're just starting college around this time, you're going to be and you're in the finals, you're well, all right, am I going to start off the semester strong or am I going to try and win some money?
Yeah, true. I didn't even consider the people playing in it. That's a good point.
Yeah, let's be real though, there's only 300 people and half of them are degenerate ROT members. Yeah, you'll probably know who they are in your residence if you're rooming with them or not. You'll hear some racial slurs and some smells coming from there.
Oh boy.
From the rooms. Anyways, yeah, so it is the second week of September, 8th to the 15th. That's good stuff. All that good stuff.
It says the permadeath stage and the tournament will be held at the ESL studio in Leicester. Tickets are about $15, it looks like. So if you're in the area, that's not that bad of a deal,
Yeah. Yeah, still with ESL. But yeah, so NPCs in the wilderness will now have a new wilderness loot table.
All right.
I don't know if that comes from the level 2 rats or the bosses. They're never specific.
Nope. So
there could be a strat to bring chins and just fucking chin skeletons and stuff, or I don't really know. Go to the Rev Caves and kill dragons. But here's some shit that I'm kind of annoyed with. But the items on the Global Wilderness loot table are as follows, and we might remember some of these items. The Morrigan's coif, leather body, and leather chaps.
Huh.
Morrigan's throwing axes and javelins. Zuriel's hood, top and bottom. His staff. Stadius's full helm, plate body, plate legs, warhammer. Vesta's chain body, plate skirt, longsword, and spear. And you can no longer get a Verax flail from the Barrows chest. I kind of just started moving on. But they added their proposed PvP items that failed the rev case, and they just said, fuck it, we're putting them in Deadman mode.
Huh, that's interesting. Part of me thinks that halfway through this dev blog, they're going to go late April Fool's joke. Gotcha, but...
This wasn't pulled, was it?
They don't really pull things for Deadman mode anymore, do they? Oh, no.
I guess not.
They haven't.
But here's the thing. They don't do it because it's a, air quotes, balance change. So they don't have to pull it. But, like, this isn't a balance change in any way.
I mean, okay, it looks interesting. I'm okay with seeing how it plays in a Deadman mode because I don't play Deadman mode. It's not going to really affect me. But at the same time, we can kind of see, like, who knows, this might be more fun, or hey, the clans are just unstoppable now. But, if you will allow me to quickly... Is it just me, or does this seem like after this finals, they're just going to go, see, they're not that bad. They're not that overpowered. Why didn't you guys just vote yes?
You know what's going to happen? You're going to see some fucking week-old, like 3-day-old Reddit accounts with like Johnny Bravo 221 and, you know, Phineas and Ferb 59 being like, these items are lit, fam. We should put them in the game, right, fellow kids? Like, you're going to see some like weird shilling on the subreddit, and they're going to like get pulled to be put back in the game. Because people are going to be like, yeah, man, it was dope and it's cool and it's actually really good for Deadman mode. We want them in the game. Look, it's not extra work for the devs because they went and actually made the items even though it failed the polls twice. Like, why are these items actually made?
Well, they could just be taking it straight from the RuneScape 3 era when these were released because that's kind of what they were doing before.
But I mean, like, the art team had to spend time making all these.
Just to make it fit, give it an old design. But what's weird,
but I mean,
like
they physically had to like dedicate somebody to like design this in their art, even if it's like tracing, but they had to design, someone took their time out of like working to like do the art for the armor and stuff like that, and then make sure it's not clipping through too much stuff.
Yeah,
it fits right in the like they actually have to like put assets into like, even if it's just like porting it, like they have to like redo the graphics at least.
Now, to play devil's advocate for the graphics part, it was released during the old school RuneScape HD era, and there was a low graphics option that would bring you to what we currently have. So maybe there's not really that much work to be put in, but it does seem like they're using Deadman mode as like a beta test.
My main thing is that this is like actually the first time they've done an update to the game, even if it's to like a game mode. But they did an update that wasn't about balance or anything like that, or game integrity, and they did it without pulling it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're doing it in an area where you can win 20 grand. This is like the one thing that you kind of don't want to start throwing wrenches in, you know?
Yeah, no.
And the main thing is that, again, they don't specify. So, like, what if Majed and his rascally boys know that you can just kill rats, and it's the same... You have the same chance the percentage per hour to get these drops as like killing Callisto with less risk, right? What if there's that one weird janky spot, you go to Ice Warriors, or like, you know what? How about the steel axes? I'm just giving ideas for anyone who does Deadman mode at this point. What about those steel axes near Scorpia? You know, where you lockpick, like...
But to answer your question on how the Wilderness drop table will work, so they do have a comprehensive guide that goes into more detail. And it does say, the chance is relative to the combat level of the NPC. The higher the combat level, the greater the chance of reaching the Global Wilderness loot table. So, level 2 rats might drop them. They might just be at a 1 out of 3,200.
Yeah, of course. Like, it's not literally going to be like a 1-to-1 or rats or as, on average, the same as Callisto, but I mean, like, okay, you can go and camp, like, the battle axes. You need a lockpick to get in there. You need the appropriate levels. But you're, like, 100% safe. If you go there, you just bring, like, Farseer helm, if you can get a Berserker necklace because you're in a clan, and flowers. A clan comes up to you. You equipped all those. Boom, you're boxing on those battle axes, and you will never kill them. You're, like, minus 67 crush.
That might not be a bad thing that they're released on every monster, because this does allow you to go farm these no matter if you're in a clan or not, because the wilderness is so big, a clan's not going to be able to lock down the whole wilderness.
Yeah, of course. That'd be ridiculous if they could. I'd actually, maybe if a clan's big enough, they might be able to actually.
Well, yeah, if they're that big, then it's
Yeah. I'm being dumb there, but like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's kind of anyone's game in the wilderness, and there's no safe areas too. So it kind of, my main thing is that like the battle axe room is like perfect because it's, I mean, they're I guess on the lower level, but you can kill them fast if you want, but it's also like 100% safe because there's only one world. It's not like you can log in on them and catch them off guard. You're always safe there. And like if people do roll up, 3-way switch, attack, X-log, you're safe. Or you just call a team, right? This is like way more built towards like clans because like obviously, right? More people killing if you have all the bosses on farm. Or you're in like every singles area and you're like spread out, whatever, or clumping. And
it will take them away from other areas though, so that you will be able to. So let's go through more of these because it might make more sense as we go through the dev blog some more.
Yeah,
it did kind of throw me for a loop because that is a first to introduce completely new items into Deadman mode and also items that failed a pull in the past. Now, I'm not saying they should have pulled these because they don't pull anything for Deadman mode. You know, now that they have these new individual teams working on Deadman mode, maybe they've run the numbers and said this might be good. And at the same time, I'm okay with Deadman mode having these very big and drastic changes each season to kind of change the meta, to keep people always on their toes so they can't just figure out, all right, full Varix, that's what you should bring to the finals because that's what's going to win. So I'm okay with this, but it is weird that it did fail a pull with a fair bit of backlash. You and I were both against it, so I guess maybe we're a bit biased.
It's super weird. We're like, I'll just say this and then we'll talk about the items and we'll move on because no one really cares that much, I don't think. But I do think it's weird that they're bringing in like all these sets of like new, like brand new gear and then being like, okay, add them to the game, we're set. Like they took out Varix Flail, so like it's not just like Varix and Vengeance because that shit was kind of boring to watch. Like I'm like, that's a good balance change. This is.
Which is why I'm okay I'm not okay, but like I'm more open to something like this because yeah, the first time Varix came around, that being the meta, you were like, wow, this is cool. We thought it would be some Tribritter with a Gmaul, but no, it's the guy with Varix and he's just using Vengeance. That's interesting.
And now everyone's doing that.
Yeah, the second time, half the people had that, and you're like, okay, this is just an RNG fest.
So they've changed the items a bit, these new items, and we'll talk about them. So maybe this will sway our opinions a bit more. But yeah, we'll go over what these new, what these weapons, I guess, do. But yeah, so the first one is Morrigan's throwing axe. So the special is called Hamstring, and it uses 50% spec per use. And versus NPCs, a successful hit will deal anywhere between 20% and 120% of standard max hit. Versus players, a successful hit will deal between 20% and 120% of the standard max hit and will increase your opponent's run energy drain rate by 6 times for a period of 1 minute.
That's kind of cool.
I think that's actually really neat, and I'm surprised that the game engine actually allows this. I wonder if this just like changes the weight of your character.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's funny. More surprised that this can be done, but they can't change the color of hit splats.
Yeah. Pretty cool idea, though. I like that. Yeah.
Seems pretty balanced. Because at the same time, if you don't move, you're not going to lose any energy. It's for people running away. You throw one of those at them, and then they're going to stop running eventually.
Like, this is something you won't see in the finals. It's more of like clans are jumping on that guy doing a clue scroll for some reason in the finals.
Or maybe you use it to defend yourself while you run away from a couple guys, because now they're going to start walking, and you can get away.
Yep. And the next item, another Morrigan's item, it's the Javelin. Morrigan's Javelin. So spec is called Phantom Strike, 50% per use. And versus NPC, does nothing. But versus players, it deals regular damage. But also every 3 cycles, your opponent will take 5 hits or 5 HP of damage until it totals the same damage dealt by the initial blow.
Ooh, that is...
The final damage from this will be anywhere from 1 to 5.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, we should probably... actually, they don't release the range strength of this.
No, but I like things... I like damage over time things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying add more of it, but I'm surprised we don't have more of it in the game. They haven't even tried pulling it. So seeing a special like this and you're like, oh wow, they should experiment some more when they're coming out with some new items for the actual game in the future.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's going to be like this javelin, like, can you use it in a heavy ballista? I guess not. That's stupid. I take that back. Is it going to be as good as a heavy ballista in terms of damage wise? Because if you could drop like a 40 with this spec, like, that's going to be pretty dope.
I highly doubt it. It seems like it's something you're going to use the spec for and then switch to something else.
What I mean is, like if you're going to use the spec on an opponent, could it hit like a 40 with it? And then your dot, you'll be bleeding them out 40, but 5 hits per 3 ticks. I don't know. Plus you can use it twice. So I wonder if, like, do the bleeds work with smite as well? Do you have a clan that all spec once, and this person's gonna like bleed for 30s?
Yeah, you spec twice, and it's only 50% spec, and then they're bleeding out 10 every 3 cycles.
Yeah, or like, well, I guess they would probably like 5-5. They wouldn't like do it. It wouldn't be on the same tick unless you timed it properly. But if a clan were to all phantom strike someone, use a spec, you're bleeding for 30 a tick.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool. Makes tanking kind of impossible though. But it is a really cool, like, unique idea to the game, unique feature. Anyways, we'll move on to Zuriel's Staff. So note that since miasmic spells do not exist in Oldschool RuneScape, we've opted to implement a different passive. When casting ancient spells with the staff, the effects of those spells are increased. So freezes last 25% longer, blood spells heal 50% more, smoke spells, poison damage start at 4 times higher, and shadow spells increase attack drain by double the amount.
Okay.
That's pretty neat.
As usual, though, the magic end of things are usually more boring.
I think this is going to be interesting because there's a lot of, you heal with Blood Barrage in the final pits. Like, you'll see this in the final cluster fun.
I'm just saying it's nothing unique compared to the other special effects.
Yeah, no unique stuff, but I do think it's really interesting that like this, you'll definitely see this in the final hour. You'll probably see smoke spells just dropping on people because I don't know what the smoke spells start at, but if they're starting at 4 times higher, you're going to be poisoning people out for a lot, and they're going to be needing those sand fuse.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting. Anyways, Statius Warhammers. So the Smash is the special attack. It uses 35% of the spec. A successful hit will deal anywhere between 25% and 125% of your standard max hit. Any successful hit will lower your opponent's defense by 30%.
Okay.
Alright, nothing Restore can't fix.
I guess so.
Vesta's Longsword is called Feint, and it's a 25% spec per use. And the accuracy of the hit is rolled against 25% of your opponent's defense. A successful hit will deal anywhere between 20% and 120% of your standard max hit.
Okay, so it just makes it more accurate. And it also hits harder, so that's... Okay, interesting.
Vesta Spear, it's called Spearwell. 50% of the spec is used per consumption, and once used, the player is immune from melee attacks for 8 cycles. The spear will damage all targets in an 8-tile radius surrounding the player, but only for half damage each. Outside of the multi-combat zones, it will only damage 1 target, but still for half damage. And it's capped at 16 targets.
That's kind of cool, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so...
It's like an anti-team spear.
Yeah, you see the boys with the BGSs and stuff, they roll up on you.
Yeah, those scary wild boys roll up, wild boys and gals, and you're just like, you know what? I ain't dealing with this shit. Spear wall, and guess what? 16 of you are dead.
Yep. 92s across the board. You like that joke? Half the damage. Anyways,
it's good.
I think that's pretty cool. What I really want to see this item used for is, like, you know how like clans will like have players incognito, like spies in other clans,
yeah.
and they'll like BS people. That's at least what like Rot will do, is they'll disguise people in like lit, and then they'll see like Torvesta or like the leaders near the gas zone in the final area, and then they just dragon spear them out into the to the gas, and they die.
That's good.
We saw that last final, which is really cool. I wonder if like there'll be like, what if there's like 8 dudes stacked on top of each other, And if you were to all spec on the same tick, I don't think you're going to be hitting each other. I'm going to assume that like on that tick, you're immune and then you're specking. So these, like, let's say you have 8 dudes all in like this same tile radius. I don't think they're going to hit each other, but they're going to just like do crazy AoE melee damage. And then I think the main reason why they implemented this is because if you look at like the final hours and just in general big clan cluster fun times, they just pray range or like mage. They don't worry about melee because like no one's gonna D2H.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really interested with the spear. I'm really interested with the javelin. Throwing axe is cool, but I don't really know if we'll see it besides like maybe streamers dicking around with it.
Mm-hmm.
The Statius and the longsword, the Warhammer and the longsword, I don't really care too much for. I think the Warhammer's, unless it actually hits super hard, or maybe it's really good for PVM, I don't think you'll see it. And same thing with the longsword. It all depends on what you can hit with, I guess.
Well, before we give our opinions on that, though, it is important to note they've also made some changes to some of the drops, and they made them more common. These were being the Abyssal Whip, Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe, Dragon Plate Skirt, Dragon Plate Legs, Dragon Defender, Draconic Visage, Imbued Heart, all the Malediction and Odium Shards, all Godsword Blades, all unique Godsword Hilts, Zami Spear, Staff of the Dead, Armadillo Helmet, Chestplate and Chain Skirt, and Crossbow, Ceradoman Sword, Ceradoman Light, Bandos Chestplate, Tassets, and Boots.
But, like, I just want to, like, talk about this for, like, one more thing. Do you think, like, with these items being implemented, like, in this way, do you change your opinion on how they just kind of threw it in there in the game? Or are you still, like, iffy on it?
Like I said, I don't really have a problem because this is Deadman mode, and they want to change the meta up, and it's not really harming too many people. It's just completely changing the meta, and you can't fall into this pattern where every season you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
My only issue, and honestly, it's not even an issue, but if it is, this is where we're going to point to, is if they ever try to pull these again, they might be like, hey, look at this test. It went perfectly fine. And you're like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You didn't change the stats or anything. You just showcased it a bit. And like, now what do you think? Again, these all seem pretty good to me. They don't have the stats. They're going to communicate the stats in a later date to people who are playing Deadman Mode. Well, everybody, but it'll be in the Deadman Mode blog. Yeah, so they seem pretty good. They seem to help out every player in every venue of Deadman Mode, whether you're a solo player or you're in a clan, whether you're a ranger, major, or meleeer, there's going to be something there that could help you for something. And also, though, the reason I brought up that they made some of the other common drops, they made some of the other drops more common, was that if you're worried about the clans who are going to just lock down an area and farm these items, well, that's going to take them away from the Abbey Demons, God Wars. Any of those items that I list will kind of be a little bit easier to acquire because you don't have to worry as much.
Yeah, I guess. The main thing is that, didn't Lit have like over 100 people? So it's pretty easy to spread them all out, but maybe they have 300? Yeah, I guess it does take them away from certain areas, but I wonder if they'll actually, like, how much these new items will be prioritized, because I'm assuming the armors, vests and stuff, I'm assuming those stats are still going to be the same. My thing is that they kind of just, like, instead of bringing in Xerix and stuff like that, they just kind of, like, I don't know. I feel like it was just kind of too out of the blue. I would have liked to see some more discussion and thought process on why they did this before, like, they just kind of threw it in there. It would be interesting to kind of, like, pick their brains about this, but we'll move on because we've talked about it enough.
Yeah, I'm sure we can trust the team that's working behind it because now it's not just random people who are doing it. It's an actual team that this is all they're doing.
Yeah, I'm hoping if it doesn't work out, they'll recognize it and take it out. I don't want it to be like in Zora, where that was problematic, and then they were like, the people kind of bitched about it, and then they kind of...
It might make it a problem for this one season, if it is a problem, but...
Well, that's for the finals. That's the main thing, is that they're adding this for the finals.
Oh, yeah. But the beauty about this thing is, if they do take them out after the finals because it didn't work out, well... again, they're just changing things up in the meta, 'cause now people can't even use that as a strategy. Every season they should be changing things up, and so I'm okay with stuff like this.
Yep. So anyways, the flail's been taken out, so it'll be fun. Final, what is it, 126 will actually be interesting to watch. The size of the quarterfinal, semifinals that are used in the 1v1 stages are now increased to be the same size of the final area, because they were pretty small, but now they'll be a lot bigger. I think maybe they had whoever, like this balance team, maybe the area is too small. Because I know if you're really big into PKing, there are distances you want to stay away from people so you can stack properly. And those like tiny cages like seemed like it wasn't enough. Like if you stood in the middle, you couldn't be like far enough to do cool stacks and little tricks on people.
Yep.
Maybe they just want to maybe it's better for the viewing experience as well. Yeah, and some balance changes. So the requirements of Hand in the Sand to access the Mage Guild has been removed. Starter kits alongside other food items. I don't know what that means exactly, but when you're in the 1v1 stage of the permadeath, they get like cleared of your bank and stuff to prevent people from smuggling in, tuna and whatnot. The requirement for having started Dragon Slayer to equip the anything anti-fire has been removed. Equipped or use anything anti-fire has been removed. They've made the following drops more common that we talked about, but they've also improved the drop rate of all other defenders by, it's now a 1 in 25, so you don't get screwed, because this could make or break some people's tournaments. Some people had to spend like the first day or the first like 6-7 hours just like at the Warriors Guild trying to get these defenders. Well, there's people that run in and they're done in an hour.
Yep.
And it was like ridiculous to watch some streamers like run in, boom, 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 boom. All right, let's continue. And then like a streamer's still on bronze or iron.
Yeah.
So that's really nice to see. This also does prevent like burnout for the future. So if you have a bad tournament, you might be willing to jump in again, because you'd have to spend a whole day grinding for one item. The Dorgashun crossbow and boom bolts have been added to archery stores. The following quests will automatically be completed: Animal Magnetism, Death Plateau, Dragon Slayer, Heroes Quest, Lost Tribe, Monkey Madness, and the first stage of Recipe for Disaster.
Cool.
I'm kind of like, why? What the fuck?
This questing sucks, that's why.
But like, do you not understand how big of a change this is?
Every season's gonna change a bit. So some things are going to be huge game changers, and they might remove it for the next season. You know what I mean? But to get kind of like upset about it, if Jagex were to take that into account, it would corner them on what changes they can actually do. And then people might get upset that nothing's being changed as often.
So here's the main thing, is that Priest in Peril and Monkey Madness were like the main quests that you could gatekeep. Which I found was always really interesting as a concept of like being able to like, all right, this clan has like 5 or 6 people and they're going to go and camp Priest in Peril because you have to bring like the Rune Essence, so you don't have that much food, which turn into strats of like other clans would bring alts into the final hour and stuff, and they run the essence. So like when they're doing the quest themselves, it's a lot safer, but like it made for like cool strategies. Same thing with Monkey Madness. Clans would camp the gates or the prison, where you run in for the first time and you get pelted by the monkeys and knocked out at the gates, and then you wake up in prison. And like, okay, yeah, it's annoying, you're a solo player and you die, but you have to develop a strategy in case it happens to you. Because if you're quick enough, if you're fast enough at questing and all that stuff, because like getting Animal Magnetism or at least Priest in Peril done in Monkey Madness isn't really RNG based. If you have the right strategies, you can like speed run it, and it's just a matter of like how fast can you do it. Which means if you're good enough, you could bypass this, and like it's like I don't know if you know like of like bottlenecking.
Yeah.
Where if there's so many people like trying to do something, a lot of people trying to do one thing, and then it like bottlenecks, so only a couple people are able to do it at a time. Yeah. And clans are able to like artificially create bottlenecks. I thought that was just like a cool concept, and it made it really interesting.
That's still going to happen though. It's just going to come in the form of different quests now. Now clans can't just go, well, we'll just camp these same quests every time. Now they're going to have to go, what quest should we do? Should we do Monkey Madness 2 so that people can't get the Zenite shards?
So the only thing I can think of is Desert Treasure.
There's going to be a few of them. You know what I mean? We might not be able to think of them, but there's always strategies that I hear about that I'm like, I never would have thought of it. I just don't put the thought into it because I'm not actually doing Deadman mode.
Well, my main thing is that Monkey Madness and Animal Magnetism are like some of the most important quests because of, the Avas and then the Dragon Scimitar.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there was such an easy quest for a clan to say, that's what we're going to choose to cause a choke point. Now they're going to have to look at other quests and think, should we do Monkey Madness 2? Because not everyone's going to be doing Monkey Madness 2, but some will be. Should we do that? Or is there a better quest we should be looking at to do?
Well, like, the point I'm making is that, like, same thing with Death Plateau, but like, the point I'm making is that, like, these quests are, like, quests that you need to, like, you kind of need to do them at some point. Like, it's very important to get them done so you have these quest items for training efficiently, like doing Slayer or, like, going to the final zone, potentially.
Oh, no, I get what you're saying. I think we just have different opinions where, yeah, those choke points will be the most important. You take them out, and there might not be any other quests that are as important chokeholds. But at the same time, it causes clans to not every single seasonal say, this is what we're doing, because we do it every time and it works. And other clans like, well, we can go contest it. But now they have to go, what quest are we going to choose? I don't know what quest. Should we do Barrow's Gloves at some, like, one of the Recipe for Disaster parts? It just causes them to think a bit more.
Well, you don't have to do all of Recipe for Disaster just to get the Barrow Gloves. You just go in, do Cook's Assistant, and then talk, and you get Recipe for Disaster done.
Oh, okay.
You don't actually have to do the whole quest. And
it's just as the first stage of Recipe for Disaster.
Yeah, but like you don't have to do all of it to get it done. They changed that a while ago in Deadman Mode. Like, you don't have to do all stages. It's just like you would do the first part, which was a Cook's Assistant thing, and then talk to him, and like then you can buy Barrow Gloves.
True. Okay. Well, whatever.
It was like one of the fastest quests. It's like 30 seconds, but I only just say it's a big deal because like this is arguably only need to do these quests and you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess except for Desert Treasure, but which means like I guess if I had to guess, there's gonna be a lot more people trying to lock down Pyramid, the agility pyramid in the desert for that sweet gold.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe sand crabs will be more contested. Maybe, I don't know. I do think it's like kind of weird. Maybe it was like we don't do the final hour, so maybe if there are like hardcore Deadman mode players, if this is like actually problematic for, I mean, obviously it's problematic for solo players, but if it's like no 90% of solo players die because they can't get these quests done, then like okay, yeah, maybe it's a bit excessive and maybe they do need to add this change. But only way to know is once the final hour I guess is completed.
Mm-hmm.
And we know if it was like good or not. I guess the YouTubers and stuff that mention it. Yeah. The global loot table. So that yields like food, runes, potions, herbal supplies, all that good stuff. It's been rebalanced, so there'll now be a higher chance of receiving food, meaning that you will get less runes, potions, and herbal supplies.
Kill.
Yeah, so money making will be a little bit easier for those skillers. Yeah, Teleblock now lasts for 150 seconds or 75 seconds when Protect from Magic is active.
Nice.
Much lower. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so some of these changes I actually really like. Some of them I don't like. I don't know. The main reason why I'm like kind of like really strong opinionated on some of these like changes is that it's $20,000 that they're kind of just fucking with.
I wouldn't say fucking with though. I think they're changing it so that you can't go in thinking the same strat as last season will generally work. Now you have to actually be more adaptive. And also, as you said, the solo players will have more of a chance because I guarantee some of these clans were preventing some solo players from ever retrieving these quest rewards, like the animal magnetism.
Yeah, or like other clan mates too, right?
Yeah, it would be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, but like, it does take out like a lot of the strategy between clans. I'm assuming they're taking these, they're making these auto-completed, so they put the clans in the wilderness more. If I had to guess, if I had to assume, they want clans to be fighting over each other in the wilderness, like it should be, clans fighting other clans, but then having solo players do other strats. What sucks, I guess, is maybe green dragons might be camped in the wilderness because the bones, the crafting, like the hides And then also, maybe you get one of these items. I don't know. It's going to change up a lot, and it's going to... I don't know. It'll be interesting, at least.
Yeah, should be a fun watch.
That's pretty much it for the final hour. Or the final week, and then the final hour as well. We have some more to talk about, though, which is the winter season. Some of the changes they're making to this. So, the winter season begins right after the final hour. So it begins on the 15th of September at about 10 p.m. They say approximately, because sometimes it might go longer, sometimes it might go shorter.
Yep.
Sometimes the servers crash.
Yeah.
People DC. NPCs killed in the wilderness, they'll have the new loot table, and that is all the items we talked about. They made changes, to all the items we talked about. They're more common, the whip and all that good stuff.
Yeah, basically all the changes are the exact same as the finals, but it is important to note that they do have a finish date for the Deadman Winter 18, which is October 11th.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday. I don't recall them actually having a date planned out before. Usually it was kind of...
I think they usually set, 3 months or something, and it's like, well, we have 50 people playing. All right, we're shutting her down this week.
They never... I don't recall them coming out and saying in the same dev blog. It was more like, you'll know when it's going to be closed. But I guess with a new team, they can actually plan it out. They probably... Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they have the next 3 tournament dates planned out.
I like it how it's only a month long, because generally by the 3rd week, the game mode is dead as fuck. The first week, after the first week, like week 2, that's when you have people coming on just to sneak into the tournament to the final hour.
Yeah.
Cause you get the 6-hour immunity and then the quest unlock and all that stuff. So you can do some cheesy strats and sneak in. But yeah, they added all these items to the the seasonal. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but I think that's it for Deadman Mode.
Yeah, don't worry. You can use your Verax in the seasonal. Don't worry. They kept the flail in.
But the finals, that will probably be another story.
Where to watch Deadman? Good question. They have a Twitch channel. Is it Oldschool RuneScape, I believe?
Oldschool RS.
Twitch.tv, Oldschool RS. And they'll be in the Oldschool RuneScape Twitch directory, which we have and people actually use now, which is super nice. I remember streaming me and 3 people with a total collective 20 viewers. It's nice that people actually use it now. And then on to the next thing, which is kind of exciting. So yeah, next up we have the Duel Arena changes that actually came in finally.
Yeah, we were waiting on this one, and this is a big one.
Yep. And then iOS beta news. So Duel Arena changes, what are they? Good question. They added a tax to the Duel Arena, and they also made it so you cannot stake items.
Yeah, that's right. Just money and plat tokens.
Yeah, so the tax, they go into detail. If it's 10 mil or below, it's 0.25 of a percentage. If it's 10 mil to 100 mil, it's 0.5 of a percent. And if your stake is 100 mil or 100 mil and above, it's 1%. So I guess stake by stake, you won't really notice it that much.
Not really. And if you're like a high roller, you staking 100 mil, you're losing 1%, you lose 1 mil. To them, it might not be that big of a deal. But in the grand scheme of things, it does all add up, especially if you're staking a lot. You stake 100 mil 10 times, you just lost 10 mil there.
But you also won a lot more than that. So it's okay. The main thing is that there are so many duels that go on each day. I read somewhere that it's going to take out 16 bill a day on, that's what they're projecting, or maybe it was the first day it took out 16 bill. Wow. I don't know where I read it, but it was somewhere on Twitter, and I was like, that's a fucked up amount of money being taken out. So this will be a big items or gold sink.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very needed. I actually think they should implement the same rate at the minimum to Grand Exchange. I think the GE needs a tax system. I'm amazed that I can make $500,000 a week off Firings alone by buying them for 5 and selling them for 6.
Yeah, and it is kind of an unpopular opinion because people don't want to be losing money from buying and selling shit, but almost every other game does this.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it too. So you can't merch that easily.
Yeah, and it helps with inflation too, right?
Definitely.
It was last year we almost generated as much money as every year before it
Yeah.
together. And the way this game's been growing, and it's still growing in population at like a pretty decent rate. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much these counter inflation, I guess, methods work. Is that a real word?
We hope we can see it, as in, I hope they come out with the numbers in the future, like maybe a data stream that they've done before, and they say, this is how much money has has left the game because of the duel arena. I've seen a suggestion that people said where take all the money that's taken from the duel arena, put it on a JMod's account, and get them to buy some items with it and just alch them. You know what I mean? Now that's a bit excessive, but it would act as an item sink as well, which I don't necessarily think an item sink is needed.
Speaking of item sinks, maybe not. Maybe an item crash. Is that similar to that? Maybe not. Segways. How do they work?
What are they?
Because you can only now stake gold and plat tokens. Did you see how much the Twisted Bow crashed?
So it did crash, eh?
Oh yeah.
So I brought this up a few episodes ago, and I remember you weren't too sure that this is what would happen, at least with Third Age.
Third Age, yeah. Third Age, it probably did a bit. But Twisted Bow, at the beginning of the month, it was about 1.3 mil. And, when they talk about the duel arena changes and all that stuff, it started to go down, plus Theater of Blood hype and all that whatnot started to die out. But it crashed easily 20 mil. I think it crashed more than that because they don't really... the data they show for the GE is never actually that accurate.
Mm-hmm.
It averages it out, but the day before the update, there was almost 600 T-bows traded, and then the day of went down to 200.
Wow.
And then the day after up to 400. There's a lot of people panic buying and selling. People were slowly selling it in preparation of this update, I guess, coming to the duel arena. But it was down a lot more than 20 mil on the day of. If it's showing 20 mil, you probably could have bought it at 1.1 bill. But yeah, I guess it's going back up now. People are stopping that panic. Ellie Shield saw something very similar to that. It crashed around 20 mil during that time too.
I am looking at some of the Third Age items, and a bunch of them have dropped significantly since August 16th.
Yep.
The longsword drops 50 mil. The plate drops 6 mil. But if you look at how many are actually traded, double gets traded on that day compared to the others. Same with the pickaxe, but when you look at the pickaxe, it's usually 2 or 3, sometimes 0 are getting traded a day. And then you look at the 16th and 7.
It's the way she goes.
Just shows you how many people were stocking up because of how much actual money they had.
Yeah. Also just panic selling in general. You don't want to you can easily make some good flips too as well during these big changes to the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so they changed the way the interface works in the duel arena. It looks a lot more clean. Shows you the items. I think they make it a little bit harder to get scammed as well.
They're always making changes so you can't get tricked somehow.
Yeah, it shows you what you won and what you got taxed out on and all that stuff. On the winning screen, they kind of changed it all up a lot. It's pretty nice. It's no more just you win and it shows you these items. It's this is the money you staked and you won. Good for you.
Oh, yeah.
So the OSRS mobile beta and content changes. So, they thanked everyone, of course, for testing it out that one time. They've seen, the soft launch, I guess, go for Android. But on August 30th, they'll be launching a second and final closed beta, so no open beta yet.
No. I love how they open it up. We want to thank iOS players for being so patient. It's about to pay off. But not really. The way they say it, it's we're going to release a soft launch for every country on Apple devices. But no. It's just another closed beta. So it's not really paying off.
This one has the limit of 10,000 players, though. They're testing something they're using it with something called Test Flight, which is a beta management app for Apple.
Okay.
So there are fresh invites at this time. So when you hear this, make sure you sign up if you didn't beforehand. You have until maybe till the 30th, but they're oh shit, it's gonna be over right? By the time you guys listen to this. Never mind. The sign up form will be available between the 17th and the 20th of August. Shit. Hopefully you signed up though.
I was going to say the 30th. That's still... oh, right. 20th. That's...
Yep.
tomorrow. And when you're hearing this, it'll be... that was 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you got over the weekend to sign up, I guess. And... yeah, there's no specific end date for the beta. So I wonder if they'll, like, roll it into an open beta at some point. Hopefully.
Yeah, that. Not only is that great for Apple users, but even for the mobile client itself, that's one step closer to a full release.
Yep. They made some like changes to the mobile, so they made certain overlays transparent. The function button has been given a bigger click zone. Tutorial info button has been moved to prevent overlapping with other buttons. Keyboard no longer opens when clicking through tutorial island chat box messages.
Nice.
And I guess this is the controversial little thing they slipped in here, but they made changes to smite.
Really?
We talked about it before, but you can now only be smited in a single tick for an amount up to your current hit points.
Fuck, I didn't even see that. They did really slip that in there because I just closed my tab with the dev blog on my internet browser and I can't fucking open it now. God, what?
Yeah. So the way they phrase is that you can only be smited in a single tick. I'm assuming this will only affect clanners. I think solo PKers will still be okay.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
The one thing I don't know, though, is if you go for the AGS spec and you smite up and you hit them hard, like, can you... I guess so. I'm pretty sure the way they worded this made me confident that you can't stack 30 BGSs and it's a guarantee smite. I think, yeah, I think these changes will make it just so clanners can't lure or skull trick and smite people out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice. Dense runestones will now appear darker when depleted. Those are the ones you mine those sweet dense blocks and you turn them into blood runes and whatnot.
Nice.
Notification for decaying crossbow grapple is now highlighted. Inconsistency within the farming skill guide has been fixed. Spelling errors, typos, all that good stuff.
Cool.
And then there's a sign up that we mentioned. It is on their website. That's it for the news.
Alrighty. And for some community chatter, the website zybes.net closes this week. So they made a post. I'll just read through it because it's kind of a blast to the past. Sorry, it starts with the user W13 posting on their official forum saying, "Dear friends, the day is finally here where we must close this forum and say goodbye. Back in 2001, when the internet was the wild, wild west days where anybody could do anything and didn't have to conform to a template, belong to a conglomerate, or be profit-driven, RuneScape took its first steps as a unique web-based game. It was not the first web-based game, but it was obvious from the first moment I played it that it was a game changer. It had depth and scale never before seen, massively multiplayer and persistent, like a parallel universe, run fast and look great, and even back then, between Lumbridge and Varrock, you could spend countless hours skilling, chatting, and doing quests. I checked the RuneScape.com website. There were no tutorials or guides. I emailed the owner, Andrew Gower at the time, demanding he improve his website with some guides. He replied saying he was too busy to do that, and instead, he asked me to write some of the stuff that he'd then put on the RuneScape.com website. I had kept a notepad file open while playing RuneScape just to assist myself, adding things like 2 iron plus 1 coal equals steel bar. I expanded it, cleaned it up, and sent it back to Andrew. He changed his mind and decided he'd write the tutorials himself. Instead of throwing my RuneScape help document out, I put it online as a subsection on my website. I called it RuneScape Help, and had no expectations other than that it may come in handy to a handful of players like myself. The internet forum concept wasn't new and was quite well established on the internet. I attached a forum to the RuneScape Help website a few months later, and that was the birth of this very community. It exploded in numbers, and for many years after that, it felt like the growth was unstoppable. Now, 17 years later, we find ourselves in a changed world. The internet is not the internet anymore. It is just an app on our phones now. people idle on social networks and various gaming-specific social apps. RuneScape itself has either conformed to or inspired industry-wide standards, making it easier to understand and incorporated enough newbie assistance into the game that the requirement for help sites or forums has decreased substantially. Large, resourceful wiki sites and Reddits are like the Walmarts that have totally eclipsed mom-and-pop sites like Zybez. RuneScape wave of popularity and technological edge has also passed. It is no longer the superpower it used to be in the game's arena. With plummeting player numbers, the crumbs of traffic falling off the RuneScape tablet that Zybez relied on has also dwindled to almost nothing. It has been a great run. I was a 14-year-old kid when I made the RuneScape help website. I spent the most significant and defining years of my life right here. RuneScape was my drug, my religion, my teacher, my social life, my escape, and my purpose. I met the most remarkable people playing RuneScape and learned so much about interacting with them here on this community. An immigrant kid from Calgary, Canada, which was me, not me, but the person writing this post, obviously, had a chance to log in and transform into an international celebrity every evening thanks to this community. I may have put it online, owned it, and maintained the servers, but I hesitate to take even 1% claim of what made this community great. Many people have passed through here and left their mark, not just in the form of posts, but also on all of us. It isn't easy saying goodbye, but it has been a long time coming. None of us are surprised. If anything, we'd be surprised that it lasted so long. So thank you for making this forum a community, and thank you for taking part in this journey. I hope you enjoyed it, benefited from it, and made some new friends along the way. I cannot thank and admire the moderators enough, the people who I always refer to as the staff here. I've never seen this much dedication and responsibility anywhere else. Not just the current active staff, but all the staff who have worked tirelessly to maintain the delicate balance of keeping this community civil and clean while keeping it fun, free, and prosperous over all the years. Now it makes no sense for the current owners of this forum to keep it online. Leaving it online or starting a second forum is futile because it is clearly headed towards zero activity, and forums aren't fun with low activity. So it has been decided to close Zybez. It won't disappear immediately. It will be set to read-only mode starting September 17th, and eventually it will disappear silently into the void with no disc of returning. You can still join the clan, Zybez.net, the Discord, there's a link in there. They have a friends chatting game, ZChat, and the website, 2007 RS Help. Anyways, that's it there. The only reason I want to bring it up was because it seems like a lot of change is happening. A lot of things are closing down. A lot of things we kind of grew up with are disappearing. RuneScape Classic, not RuneScape Chronicles. Nobody grew up with RuneScape Chronicles, and if you did, that's rough.
What are you, 3 months old?
Exactly. And now this website is finally closed as well. Were you ever a user of any sorts of Zybez.net?
Oh yeah, before Grand Exchange? When Oldschool first came out, I think Zybez kept the game alive until the GE came out. Like, it got to a point where like the player base wasn't, super big or anything. You needed to buy and sell items, and you didn't want to stand in like at Varrock for like 3 hours. So you would just go on Zybez when they had a section where you would post items to buy and sell, and you just keep your friends on, and like it made like, yo, where you at? Oh, I'm here. Come my world. Your spot, my world. You go meet up, trade.
One of the guy who's selling the item is always increasing it by 10K, and you're just like, are you serious? It's just 10K. You can't afford to spend 10K. You spend an hour negotiating where we're going to meet. We might as well just spend the 10K. And you're like, you motherfucker. All right.
I always made a point to be like, yeah, give me 1 second. And then I just, never went back. Oh, let me just go into the bank. Like, you'd see them like I remember dudes being like, yo, come to Raw Crabs. And because you have to go to Sears Village and fucking like, and you see them like training on one. And then like, okay, that'll be 100K. Dude, it's like 3K. Well, I'm already here. You're already here. You don't want to like, all right, well, let me go get the 100K. And then I just like go find the next person and buy it off them or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you go and sell like, I don't know, rune set. And then they give you like 50, they put in like it for like, or they try to buy it for like 50K less. And they're like, man, this is all I have. Then I type in like frowny face. Looks like you can't afford it. Teleport out. Like, I don't deal with barters. I put a price up, you pay for it.
Yep. Price is non-negotiable.
But yeah, Zybez had like every type of community on that website, even people that would like sell accounts and stuff. I always knew, or is that Scythe? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting them confused, but I know Zybez for, you know, the GE, the pre-GE.
I might be mixing it up, but do you know if they used to have quest guides on there?
I have no idea. I used Tippet.RuneScape all through when I was young.
Love Tippet, but I remember there was a site that had the same layout as Zybez. I can't remember the name. I know it wasn't called Zybez. It was like Rune Light. I don't remember. No, it definitely wasn't, but it was something along those
RuneScape.
It was something like that, though. Back in those days, there were a handful of different sites with quest guides, but they're all done with a little bit of personality with, you know what I mean? Like someone might use one, whereas somebody else would use another one just because they preferred that way it was written.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a Tippet guy myself as well, but I loved those forum type websites back in those days. I never used Zybez. I did used to use a website called RunescapeCommunity.net. It's since been closed, and it got breached, and all my information's out there somewhere. So that kind of sucks. I mean, if you want to hack my account, do it, because I gave it away, and I don't think I'll be able to get it back. So maybe if you could hack it and then bring it back to me, that'd be great. Yeah, I was a huge fan of RuneScapeCommunity.net because people would make their own adventure logs where they would post, I'm going to kill a shit ton of KBD, and then they would put the loot down of what they were getting each kill. So this was before like drop rates were set in stone. Like they were on websites, but you weren't 100% certain. It was cool to kind of see it. That's the best website to get your PKing videos. I used to fucking watch so many of those on that website. But anyways, those forums are a thing of the past, which kind of sucks. I did enjoy those. They had a cool, I don't know, there's a cool aspect of it, I guess. But yeah, I can totally see they've closed it down because things like Reddit and Twitter and even Discord, it's caused those type of forums to not really be used as much.
Yeah, I think the Discords, the subreddits, like this is a like pretty obvious reason why. Like you don't really need to go to Zybez anymore.
It was cool though, but did you use those type of forums back in the day?
Not really, no. I didn't really care too much.
Okay, well, there was a big.
I was just a kid that like played and just dicked around. I didn't really like.
True, they were pretty big back in the day where you would get signatures where when you made a post on the forum, that signature would always get displayed. And you'd have things where it like display all your stats, and there were websites that would automatically update your signature to show what stats you have. You could put your goals, but there was a fair market where you would pay somebody to make you a badass looking signature. They would make some custom picture and you'd pay them like 10 mil. And I remember doing that. That was pretty cool. I had a friend who would kind of commission that type of work. Yeah, it was fun. And I mean, made pretty good money because you'd make a signature, and after a while, you got sick of it, so you'd pay him for another one, and he would go custom make you a signature.
Yeah.
So that stuff was pretty cool. Times are changing, and they're happening pretty fast. This is a month of closure. But anyways, moving on to what else we got. Just some little things to mention. Nothing too big at all. A user on the subreddit, Grund Kelseth, he made a post that he was a hardcore Iron Man, and he was doing the quest Troll Romance, and the last boss of that quest killed the hardcore Iron Man. Did I mention it was a hardcore Iron Man? I can't remember. Well, anyways, it was a hardcore Iron Man. Died during the boss fight, but spawned in Lumbridge with all of his items and the hardcore Iron Man status still intact. So that might be a bug, or maybe they accidentally left it as a safe death, which I guess might still be a bug. But I thought it was kind of interesting. There's really not too much to talk about with that one, but...
Watch it be like the one time Jagex is like, yeah, you're right, this bug really did affect your count in a weird way. Well, don't worry, see ya, status.
Yeah.
You're now a normal Iron Man.
Yeah, one time, because...
Wait, remember the agility squirrel maze guy? Yeah, fuck you.
Yep. This has happened a bunch to other hardcore Iron Man players, but the opposite, where some weird bug or something would happen and they would lose their status. So if this guy were to lose it, kind of shitty. They got a lot of things to go back and fix for other players then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And last thing to mention here, there was a suggestion. We don't always talk about suggestions, but every now and then one kind of crosses my eye, and it seems kind of interesting. So Would love to hear what you think about it. This was suggested on the subreddit by Ninja Gamer 1337. That's elite user right there.
Yep.
He proposed the Ring of Eternal Dueling. And this is a Ring of Dueling with infinite teleports, similar to the Ring of Eternal Glory. So his proposal was 1 out of 500 or 1 out of 1,000 chance to receive this item after winning a game of Castle Wars, or alternatively, 1 out of 1,000 after capturing a flag. So his arguments is it has a chance to revitalize Castle Wars a bit, makes Castle Wars actually profitable, and it is an extremely useful item. The only cons being that people would start farming it.
Or botting it and
Yeah.
creating games in random obscure worlds where they get like a botnet to just go in and AFK and have one guy run the flag a million times.
What are your thoughts? It would make lava rune crafting a lot easier.
And it would really increase the experience per hour. But I don't... So the glory was, you know, it's one thing because, like, the most use you would get out of it is, like, rune crafting. But you'd have to go into the wilderness, and you have a chance to lose it.
Yeah.
And getting it is pretty risky. There's, like, a pretty high risk to getting it. And, like, outside of that, though, you, like... I don't really know why you would need to use it a lot unless you're... Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, a Fury is better than it, and it's cheaper.
Yeah. And if you do want infinite teleports with a glory, you can put it in your player-owned house.
Yep.
That's how I have it.
There's probably some weird skilling methods. Maybe, like, nature? Crafting nature runes?
I don't... How? Teleport to Karamja and run all the way?
No. You teleport to Edgeville and Bank.
Oh, yeah, true.
And then you would maybe go to your POH or something, or use your Karamja gloves.
It is pretty niche, but what surprised me is that the Eternal Glory is worth 20 mil, around that number.
Yeah, and the dueling ring would be worth a lot more. The big thing is that the combination of the dueling ring, like, so the dueling ring itself brings you to the second closest spot to a bank. First one being Crafting Cape, 99 Crafting Cape. Brings you right next to a bank. Teleporting to Castle Wars brings you really close to a bank.
Yeah.
So, like, that's super powerful. And it also brings you the duel arena, which is good for lava runes.
Clan Wars to restore your shit. But if you can afford that ring, you could probably build your house up.
Yeah, but, like, if you... I don't know. That's way too powerful.
Think so, eh?
Oh, yeah. Amulet of Glory is like, it's pretty powerful, but it's really risky to get. As you have to go to the wilderness and charge it. The glory. Okay, so the amulet, the Eternal Glory, is pretty decent for like 1 or 2 things. It's nice, 20 mil investment for 1 or 2 things. But then if you combine that with an Eternal Dueling Ring, now you have like, I guess, crazy teleports to do whatever that lasts forever, and then even the Eternal Slayer Ring. I mean, I guess you wouldn't have all 3 of those, but having like infinite teleports that sit in like your jewelry slot can be super problematic if you can combine them to make it even worse. And I do think most, like, the rune crafting community that is, like, super, like, going for 200 mil and stuff would be pretty much against this because it makes lava crafting a lot better experience, I believe.
When you say a lot better, though, it's not going to double the experience rates.
No.
Increase it by, what, 5k an hour?
Less than that. Easily less than that. I don't know. It's super powerful. I did see a suggestion that maybe you can just charge it up with Rings of Dueling, like a Ring of Stone, or Ring of Suffering, sorry. And that I kind of like a bit more. I think my main issue is how you would get the ring. And through Castle Wars, honestly, 90% of them at some point would be through, like, botnets.
Yeah, but, you know, we can't just not allow things because bots are going to be a problem with it. Bots are always going to be a problem with something. They would be the easier bots to catch, I think.
This would create like a super toxic Castle Wars environment because the best way to get your shit is to just have one team forfeit and just stand there.
Well,
so you would find people that would kind of go in and just kind of AFK.
But also there's the chance of getting it from capturing a flag. So it's not like you would just give up. You could still try to capture the flag and have that chance to get it, even if you do lose.
Yeah, but then you're playing. Do you see the point I'm trying to make, though? It's like, What are you up to right now? Oh, AFKing, Castle Wars, maybe I'll get the ring, and I'm doing something else.
Well, let's say it's 1 out of 500. A Castle Games match is 20 minutes. That's 166 hours if you're AFKing.
Yeah, no, I guess that's true. I mean, I do feel like it'd be kind of weird, but it's 166 hours on average.
Thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. Yeah, I'll flip over. Yeah, why not? It's interesting. I'd like to see some I'd like to hear some more opinions on it, like what it would actually how it would either be good for something or bad for something. The effect, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I see these and I go, I can drop all 7 bank slots that I have full of dueling rings. Perfect.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm not getting that eternal glory anytime soon.
I mean, I would prefer maybe a charging method where you charge them up.
I just don't think many people will be actually farming it. I'm surprised the eternal glory is sitting at 20 mil still. It's super rare. I really don't think there's that many people charging glories.
No, because you kind of need the Wilderness Elite Diaries for it to be efficient.
Yeah, and then it's risky.
And you're risking 500k.
Yeah, it's risky for not that big of a reward, and there's better ways of doing it, of getting money, I should say. Yep. But anyways, that is all for my community chatter that I have seen this week. So I guess we'll just move it right along. Unfortunately, again, if you look forward to these lore segments, we will be skipping over it this week, and we probably won't be revisiting it until episode 101, just because this week's going to be hectic. Next week, we have our Q&A, so that might take up some more time. Episode 100, we might bring it back for 100. We'll have to see. We'll play it by ear. But that being said, we'll move it right along to where we talk about kind of what we got going on. So I guess I should drop in that some people in the clan chat got a T-bow this week, which is pretty cool because they're very low in kill count. One guy got it at 8 kill count. I mean, I want to drop that in earlier, but I forgot. I just thought that was pretty fucking lucky.
Oh yeah, dude.
So congrats to you guys for getting that. But anyways, yeah, as I had mentioned, episode 99, which will be the next week. This is your last week to get any questions in that you have about the show. And yeah, next week we will kind of go through and answer some of them. Or all the questions that have been asked, I should say, not some of them. And yeah, then following that, we have episode 100, where we will be releasing some sort of survey or some way we can get some feedback about how we can go through the next year and improve the show a bit more.
Yeah.
So last year we did a Google document or something like that. And it was just a survey with some multiple choice and then some places you can write in some feedback and some suggestions and what you liked and didn't like. So we'll have that again, but there'll be more information on that. Last year we did a giveaway. Unfortunately, we might, but I'm not too sure because I don't have the money to spend on bonds right now, so can't be doing it this time. But maybe we can figure something out, and we'll let you know when we're actually release that survey. But before I start kind of giving you guys all the social medias and all that good stuff, there is a big addition, at least for us, that we've added to the show. We've had a couple of people asking for it before, but I've kind of been lazy with it and didn't really necessarily need it. But now is the time to release it, I guess. So we finally released a Patreon for the podcast so if you're someone who has the funds to support us, now you can go ahead and do so. And we have some various rewards that we're currently offering. I would like to think that this is it's similar to the iOS. This is a beta for this, for the Patreon. We'll go into more detail next week on our Q&A on why we're releasing the Patreon and what it's actually offering. For now, you can go check it out. We will be doing changes to some rewards. We won't be removing rewards, but there are some that I would like to add as I can kind of think of them. But for now, there's some there if you do want to check it out. So do check us on patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast. And if you do support us, man, I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. Yeah, but like I said, for the Q&A episode, we'll talk more about it and why we have decided to release it now, opposed to a couple months ago, let's just say. It has to do with the money that goes into actually putting into the podcast. Because I know I have people asking us how much money we make from the show, and they're kind of surprised to hear that that we don't make any money and that it actually costs us money each month.
Negatives.
Yeah. Which I had no problem in the past doing it because this is a fun thing to do each week, and seeing all these people come into the clan chat, it's just been really fucking cool. And it's been a hobby. Like, RuneScape's kind of like a hobby over just playing a video game in itself, but doing the podcast is a hobby on top of that. So I had no problems now, but since quitting the job and going back to school, it might get tricky. I know I said I was going to explain it next week, but I guess I did a little bit there, but we'll go more detail next week. Anyways, we do have other things that we drop every single episode right at this part of the show, and that is our social medias and in-game clan chats and all that good jazz. So our in-game clan chat is WildCC. You can come hang out with us there. Our Twitter is @TheWildernessRS. Our Facebook is facebook.com/TheWildernessPodcast. And our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. Our Discord is posted on both Facebook and Twitter. And I did a little revamping to it. So if you are in our Discord, you might notice some things have changed. Send us your feedback on what you think of it. Part of me thinks I'm going for a little bit of that old school forum style where you have all these dedicated topic rooms, basically, we can talk, but might not work for Discord. So yeah, give us your input on what you think. And that's about it. So now, Deagin, the question to you. What do you have that you want to drop on us?
Twitch, Twitter, DeaginRS.
Nice, good stuff.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and the song of the week was suggested by yours truly. This is a song of mine that brings me back. It was probably my first song that I would keep playing on replay when I played the game back in the day. And this song is Dark. So this track is unlocked in the southeast area of the wilderness. For some reason, I remember it being near the Hill Giants. Anyways, doesn't matter. Fortunately, there is a song analysis. So I'll just quickly go through that. The track is notable as it features 4 different short sections threaded together, with none of them repeated. The opening section lasts exactly 50 seconds and features French horn along to a haunting background sound with a thumping drum beat underneath it. And this segues into a short chorus solo. The second section opens with a short piano solo. It is livelier and retains the chorus from the first section, which plays amongst a quick synthesized melody. This lasts just under 40 seconds. The third section used the same French horn from the opening and the same haunting background sound, but this time plays slower, a more woeful melody instead that lasts around 30 seconds. Once this dies down, the final section begins, which includes drums, bells, light piano, flutes, and synthesized strings working together to create a moderately paced, mysterious melody that lasts just over 50 seconds in total. Just as the section closes, a track fades to nothing, and the chime of a bell marks the finish. The song was composed by Ian Taylor. And yeah, all right, guys, thanks so much for listening to episode 98. We'll catch you next week for maxing out our podcasting level.
Yeah.
With some good old Q&A. All right, guys, thank you so much. Till next week.
Yeah, have a good one.